Today we're going to talk about ThruNite flashlights, specifically the 5 best ThruNite flashlights that I have tested so far, and I wanted to get this review in as quickly as I could so that people could take advantage of the discount pricing for Prime Day. So without any delay, let's go ahead and get started. So before we get to the top 5, let me first talk about the new ThruNite Saber. So this is the i5T equivalency. So a lot of the brands nowadays are making an equivalent flashlight that has a reversible pocket clip. It can use a 14500 and a AA, and this is another example of it. 2 modes here, a low and a high. 55 lumens when it has the 14500 and about 650 lumens when it's on high. That drops down to around 25 or so. Actually, I'll make sure I have all these numbers correct. 24 on low, and then 235 lumens on high using a standard AA. The thing about this that is better, and I didn't give it enough credit initially, is that using a standard AA, it doesn't drop in output. It stays at 235 lumens for 75 minutes. That's actually much longer than any of the other models, which drop very rapidly after a 5 to 10 minute mark. So this is actually kind of interesting, especially when using a standard AA. It actually compares much better to the other flashlights, but it is not in the top 5. But currently sitting at only $16, and it actually includes a USB Type-C rechargeable battery built in. That's an insane deal. That's what it comes down to. So I wanted to at least mention this. It's pretty solid, and now looking at it with a AA, that's probably how I would run them, and I think it's going to work really, really well with a standard AA. So nice little light, but it's not in the top 5. Coming in at number 5, we have the ThruNite TT20. Now this has yet to be updated to some of the features that you see in other flashlights and the other ones in the higher part of this list. For one thing, they have since found a new button recess, so they actually raised the collar so that the button does not accidentally get pressed. And so that is actually something that you want to watch out for. Be careful with this. Keep it in lockout when necessary. And you're going to want to do that because this thing can reach a massive over 2,500 lumens. So it's a hugely powerful flashlight. It uses a 21700 battery, long run times. It has the ability to get into moonlight automatically from a hold on the side. The tail switch uses turbo only. So from a user interface perspective, it's excellent. And it also, let me do this. It also has continuous ramping, which is kind of a different way to go. I actually like that a lot instead of having 3 or 4 potentially not useful modes for whatever you're applying. It actually gives you all of the customization. My only qualm with it is that the speed at which it ramps could be a little bit faster, but frankly, it's still a great flashlight, decent price. Definitely considered in the top 5, mostly because the battery life is insane with that 21700. But I'm looking forward to seeing an update with maybe even a better button recess. Yeah, Type-C charging still, not bad, but you're going to see it gets outclassed by some of the other flashlights. Maybe not in runtime, but in other aspects. So coming in at number 4, I'm rating the T1S as 4th spot. I'll be honest, I had a lot of trouble picking which ones were in 4, 3, and 2. The number 1 slot is an easy one, but these others, they're all pretty close to each other. So what makes this so good is number 1, it has a reversible clip, it has a magnetic tail, it has Type-C charging, it has a massive output as well. Oh, I have it in lockout. Now I don't. So it has a massive output, I think 1500 lumens if I remember correctly. It runs a an 18350. I get all those batteries mixed up. And it has, once again, a really familiar user interface. So if you've ever used any of the O-lights with a side switch, it's going to be very, very similar. So that's actually a good, not a bad thing. I really do like this light, and it's incredibly cheap. In fact, right now with Prime Day, it's coming in under 30 bucks. So it's kind of hard to beat, one of the best small flashlights that you can buy, and the price right now is kind of insane. Coming in at number 3 is the BSS V5. So like we talked about with the SS20, you could see this button is now recessed properly. It's actually going to be a lot harder to press. And so the new updates with this have been really great. A new clip that's a little bit stronger as well. And it still comes with all the great features like the crenulated bezel that can be removed. And it can be exchanged for a red filter if you want, which is, these two things are included in all of the packs. But then you can also get these attachments. So this gives you a remote switch. You take off this tail and attach that one. And it also has a mount for you to use with a Picatinny rail. So you'll be able to attach the flashlight to a weapons platform as well. Very versatile flashlight. Very, very versatile. Good price, good capability, and lots of versatility. But it gets a little outclassed as a dedicated flashlight by the number 1 slot, which is why we push this down. And as you're going to see in the next one, the number 2 is basically unbeatable. Coming in at number 2 is the Catapult Pro. So there's a bunch of different variants of the Catapult series. This one is the perfect mix. It's just the right size. It's not too big. They have an even bigger one. It has the domed optics, which is much better because you have a softer outer ring and then a very concentrated inner beam. This is one of the silliest, most overpowered flashlights I have ever seen. Ever, ever, ever. It is ridiculous. It has over 1,000 meters of throw and can reach almost 3,000 lumens of output. Let me put it this way. From 12 inches away, give or take, my hand is burning up. It's actually heating up my hand from that far away. And man, it's almost impossible to handle. This thing is super bright, but still has all of the abilities that some of the other flashlights have. So you can come in on moonlight, so you could still use it in a small room. And that's something most of the throwing flashlights can't do. They don't have an access like that. You can double press for turbo or single press for something in the middle, and then you can then rotate through the, what do you call it? What am I trying to say? Through the ramp. So it has a continuous ramp. So once again, just like the other one, you can go down and it will blink when it hits the bottom of the ramp, just like that, and then go back up and it'll get brighter. You get the idea. Most of the time, I'm gonna guess you're gonna use either the turbo or the moonlight mode. And yeah, you can access both of those right away. This one still has the proud button, but I'm actually okay with it because you're not going to be carrying this in your pocket. It uses a massive 26650 battery, 5,000 milliamp hours. Very, very powerful. And yeah, you want to actually find something in the dark? This will do it. Just please, if you get one of these, do not shine it in anybody's face unless you are, you know, in danger, because this will 100% blind someone in the dark. So just be careful. This is not a toy. This thing rocks over 270,000 candela. Okay? That is a lot of power. A lot of power. So just be careful. This I would consider an emergency flashlight, so it's kind of in a category of its own, and it works with any of the other flashlights. Like, you can definitely get these two and see, you know, use this for daily, keep this at home, keep this in a car for emergencies, that kind of thing. So that's kind of why it's in number 2 slot, because it's not replaceable by anything else in this list. Coming in at number 1, and this should be no surprise to anyone who's watched my channel, I crush on this flashlight quite a bit because it is, I think, the best dollar for dollar 18650 flashlight that currently exists. Base price for this thing on Amazon is $40, and right now it's at $32. It has an an SFT40. So it is, this, in my opinion, a much better emitter than the one being used in the BSS V5. This has more lumens, and actually not by much. This is 1900, this is like 24 something, 2600. But this has much, much more reach and almost 30,000 candela. So you get a much more concentrated beam in the middle with a soft area around it. So you can use this for looking as well as these two. I love the differentiation, and it works really, really well. It has the same user interface that you'd expect. So hold press for moonlight, single press to get access to low, medium, and high. And unlike the other flashlights, for some reason, where the high mode, like in this one, has to drop down after only 2 minutes, this is using a high mode that is around 600 lumens and can maintain that for its entire duration. That is a much better spacing than you'll get even in the updated version of the BSS. And that's also true with some of the other flashlights as well that they make. This is by far my favorite flashlight from them. I have carried it. I have kept it in a holster and had no trouble with it there. It tail stands. It's just a phenomenal flashlight. It's hard to beat. It comes with a decent battery as well. I think it's the battery it comes with is 3,500. Yeah, I think it's, yes. So this is 3,400 milliamp hours. So really good battery, comes built in with it. You're gonna have a hard time beating this flashlight. You really are. I just wanted to get this video out before the sale price went away, because $32 is a truly obscene price for something this good. And until you've seen what an SFT emitter can do, it's worth it. It's worth it. This is also an SFT emitter. It's just an SFT 70, which is the size of the the space that it takes up. You can see how much bigger that is in there compared to this. So this is a 40 and this is a 70. But it still has that throwing aspect, and I really, really like that. I'm a really big fan of both of these lights. And so, yeah, that's my top 5. You have the Catapult Pro, the TN12 Pro, the ThruNite BSS V5, the T1S, and the TT20. So it covers a nice wide range. And if you still want something even smaller, you can always check out the Saber, which is honestly much better than I gave it credit for initially. Anyway, thanks again for watching. As always, I appreciate your time, and we'll talk again soon.